All right, welcome to this webinar. We got a lot of things to cover, so we're going to get straight into it. Weight Loss 2.0. Right, so who am I? Well, my name is Fred Noten. This is me enjoying a donut and a glass of wine along with my members. I am 32 years old. I'm married and I live with my 2 kids and 1 dog in Auckland, New Zealand. Now, I'm considered one of the personal trainers for celebrities and the personal trainer for high performers. So those are who are quite high up there in the corporate ladder. I also own the Transformation Fitness Center in the eastern suburbs, and that's kind of considered the place to go to when you want some results and when you want to get in shape and you want just generally just awesome workouts. Now the workouts we provide is something I created as well over the last 8 years, and something called transformation training. Now transformation training, it's not like CrossFit, it's not boot camp, it's not F45, right? It's different style of training. You can't find that anywhere, again, because I created it, and it's amazingly awesome. And we do a 28-day gut transformation program a few years back, which was very successful. But that's just a bit of a background so you know who I am. But here's a few things that you're going to learn. It's about you, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to start your journey into a new you, because we are not just going to change the your physical, how you look physically, but we're also going to change how you act mentally, right? So you're going to be completely transformed, and it's going to basically be a completely new you. I'm also going to talk through you what the single best diet is according to science at the moment, and what 7 principles you need to follow. Also going to tell you why you don't constantly have to eat, right, and how to apply this to your life, and why losing fast is the way to go, right? Not the slow, steady weight losses, but the fast weight loss. That's really the way to go. We're going to go through that at the end. And first, before we go all through all of that, right, we've got quite a bit of things to cover. Before we go all through that, first I'm going to show you the results, right? Because I think if I can get you to see the results first, right, you can know what to expect, right? I'm not just talking because I just researched this online and read a few research papers. I've really put this to the test with my wife and some of my clients. So here's my wife. She followed what we're going to teach later on for 8 weeks. She lost about 14 kgs in that time, and doesn't she look amazing? Right, muscle definition. She lost heaps and heaps of weight, just following what we do, right? And you might think, okay, you do this for a certain part of time and then you stop doing it. No, you don't, because it's a way of life, right? And this is her a month and a half after that challenge that we did. So she still continues to lose weight and maintain it at least. So that's the nice thing. It's not like it's a crash diet what I'm going to teach you. It's something that you can really maintain quite easily. Here's someone else, Tyrone. He lost about 20 kgs as well, and what Tyrone did was just a diet, so he didn't even added some added exercise to it. So what you see, his results are just changing the way he eats. Mums, right, we're busy. Mums are busy. Dads are busy. One of the things with lots of diets, people think, oh, it needs to be very time consuming. And here's one results of someone. She did this challenge. She did follow the nutrition I'm going to teach you later, and she had amazing results being a mum, right? You're not a mum. She lost weight, right? It's not that time consuming once you get a hang of it, and you can see some amazing results. Here's another great result. You can see the difference in the waist quite clearly, in the legs as well. It's amazing results. And one more, husband and wife combo, and they both did it. She actually started first and he just joined in a bit later, and look at that, great results. So what I'm going to teach you, I'm not doing this to show you off, right? show off what I can do, but what I'm going to teach you is it's real, right? It's real results, right? This really happened just a few months ago when I first tested this whole kind of theory out. Now, before we continue, But I just got to tell you one thing, it's not about losing weight and doing nothing. So that's not what this is all about. There's no magic weight loss pills. So I'm not selling you any sort of weight loss pills because they don't exist. No shake, no patch can fix can do this. So it's just really, really hard work, but also really, really smart work. And that's what I'm going to teach you, right? To be smarter, and I'm going to just give you the whole outline of what you need to do. But as in the perspective of a farmer, when you want to have a harvest, well, you have two choices. So you can plant the seeds with your hands, or you can use the tractor, right? Hands a bit slower, tractors a bit faster, and we're going to show you the tractor way of doing things. But either way, you have to plant the seeds. But if you're not willing to plant the seeds, you don't get a harvest at all. So it's very important. You need to know, you need to put in the work. And also with the results I just showed you, I'm not a psychic, right? I can't predict what your results are going to be following this particular diet. And if I was a psychic, I would just buy the lotto and would even do this webinar, right? So it's going to be important to know that I can't predict what results you're going to get, but if you put in the work, I can tell you 99% sure you'll see some results. And by the end of the webinar as well, we're going to invite you to work with me today as well. It's going to be a huge surprise. Now the overview. So we're going to talk a bit about nutrition, what to eat, and we're going to talk about ways of eating, kind of like a few kind of life hacks there as to how, and we're also going to go over the psychology of starting, because it's all good for me just to teach you what to eat and when to eat, and then you just don't apply it to your life. So it's super important for me and for you as well, that you know what kind of mindset you need to have. And I'm going to go through quite in detail 7 steps at the end of how to get yourself to start and not procrastinate and actually stick to it as well. But as at the end, it's honestly, it's going to be the best for last there. It's going to be great information throughout, but stick around, especially at the end. Now, let's start off with the what. Now the what, you can see this guy here. It's kind of a bad guy in nutrition science. He's kind of the villain because his name is Ancel Keys, a nutrition scientist in the 60s, and he convinced the world that fat causes cardiovascular heart disease and we should avoid fat. So he's the one that kind of preached fat is what makes us fat, and he's the one that all started that trend. At the same time that happened, of course, people freaking out, and that's when the food companies cleverly start making low-fat products, and they still make low-fat products, if you can see that in the stores. And at the same time, those low-fat products were born, because if you take the fat out for most of the products, it won't taste as good anymore. That's when they started adding sugar. So actually, you can also say that Ancel Keys is one of the people that actually drove the whole sugar intake, just by promoting that fat is what makes us fat. So there's a study that trying to challenge that and did that successfully, because this study is almost 50,000 women, and they tested a diet that aimed to reduce fat to 20% of your energy. So 20% of your calorie intake was from your energy, and they found no long-term weight loss, right? So fat doesn't make you fat, because they didn't find anything. There's no difference in rates of heart disease, so it didn't matter if you eating low fat, right? Didn't really prevent it. No difference in rates of stroke, breast cancer, or colon cancer. So yeah, not so sure anymore. Then this other study came out, the Predimed study, and the Predimed study is another amazing study. 7,500 participants, and all those participants were assigned randomly in one of 3 groups. Group 1 was getting advice about following a Mediterranean diet, so taught what this is a Mediterranean diet, this is how you should eat, and they were also given literally free extra virgin olive oil. It was delivered to the door, right, just to make sure that they actually incorporate, and they were taught ways of incorporating the olive oil into the diet as well. Then there was another group also was thought to go Mediterranean, and instead of giving them extra virgin olive oil, they were giving them nuts, and nuts are also high in fat, so they were really encouraged to increase the fat intake. And then there's a third group, the control group. They actually were taught the opposite. They weren't given anything, so I feel sorry for them, but they were actually taught as well to go for low fat. Right, so we got 2 high fat groups and 1 low fat, just to kind of compare them. And the story is that they had to stop the trial early. They were hoping to do this, or they're expecting to do this for 10-15 years and see what's happening. But after 5 years, they already saw the effects. It was so dramatic that they said, oh, let's just stop because we know the answer. And the answer was the Mediterranean diet, which supplemented with lots of oil, olive oil or nuts. They could cut a person's risk of cardiovascular disease by 1/3. That's quite a big, right? You don't see many research and many articles that can show a third risk, reduce, cut the risk by 1/3, right? So also cut the risk to become diabetic by half. We don't see a lot of research that can show that, and they clearly did. And they have a big trial as well. There's quite a bit of people in the research. Another 68% less likely to develop breast cancer. And very interestingly, that was only shown by the olive oil group, not the nuts group, just the olive oil group. So there's something magical about that. And you're also less likely to develop dementia or any sort of memory problem. So it helps with your brain and the cognitive functions. It's all compared to the low-fat diet. Now, right? So it sounds great, right? So how does the Mediterranean diet looks like? Unfortunately, it's not pizza, pasta, and lots of wine. There's actually this. It's very high in carbs. You can see the good carbs. We're not talking about the pasta and the bread, but we're talking here about the vegetable, those type of carbs. It's very colorful. You can see there's a lot of fat everywhere as well. We got nuts, we got oil, we do have a bit of wine here as well. We got some vinegar, so it's a bit of a mix, right? But you see there's no pizza. It's a tiny bit of pasta, it's almost nothing, but it's going to be very high vegetable, very high fat, and the fruits are very tiny as well. They don't eat a lot of fruits. You don't see sugars, you don't see ice creams, gelato, right? It's all not part of the Mediterranean, unfortunately, but this is the way it is. And here's another picture. You can see it's fish, very prominent fish. Hardly any red meat in the Mediterranean diet. We got lots of colorful fruits, vegetables. I mean, hardly any fruits. And again, with the olive oil, you got the pulses, the starchy there, right? So that's basically the Mediterranean diet, and that's the one that the Predomed study used. So that's the diet they actually used. And put it in a graph, you got fat. For 40% of your plate should be fat, 40% carbs, 20% is protein, and that's kind of an average. So the carbs are mainly made up of whole grains, pulses, and non-starchy vegetables. The fats go again around the 40. It doesn't have to be precise, of course, and there's more focus on the monounsaturated fats. Of course, not the saturated fats, the bad ones like vegetable oil and all of those. And the protein stays low. That's also important to realize that protein is not that prominent in the Mediterranean style diet. Now, this diet altogether, they call this the high fat, low carb. Now, carb seems high, but it's actually quite low. In scientific terms, they call this a low carb. So it's a high fat, low carb Mediterranean style diet. Now, there are 7 principles that are really involved in here. The first is to avoid the white stuff. Avoid all the white stuff. Right? Explains that pasta. White bread, right? Not part of it. It's not, get rid of it. Done. Then avoid the sugar, the treats, the drinks, the desserts. Again, not part of it. Get rid of it. It's kryptonite. Get it out of there. Eat more vegetables. You can see this vegetables are a huge part of it. You need to eat more. You can't get enough of it. But you also want to make sure you're not just eating the same vegetables over and over. It's a mix of different colors. That's going to be really important too. Eat some fruit, but no more than 1 portion daily. So you really want to decrease the amount of fruit we eat. And the fruits that you do eat are very local. They're not the imported high sugary ones like mangoes and all of that. Get rid of those. Eat high quality protein. Now with protein we think of meat, fish, all of that, but protein is in eggs, protein is in nuts, protein is in vegetables, right? We want to have a diverse range of protein sources, not just focusing on meat, which again is not really that prominent in the Mediterranean style. Of course, healthy fats and oils, add them up, not just from extra virgin olive oil and nuts, right? There's fats in meat as well. There's fats in yogurt. Trying to go for the healthy fats, not the added fats like canola oil. Trying to get rid of those, and also include vinegar. Now, vinegar is something very special. There's this research that showed that there are two groups of people. One group were given a tablespoon of vinegar daily, and the other group was given something similar, tastes the same, looked the same, and they thought it was vinegar as well, but it wasn't. But it was something kind of similar. It's called the placebo. And compared those two groups after a while, the vinegar daily group lost 1.2 kgs more. So it's something interesting about the vinegar that helps. But I think they're still trying to figure this out, but I think it really feeds the gut, and it really helps with the gut bacteria, and that's why I think it's such a wonderful thing. So those are 7 things you need to follow. Now, that's all good, right? So we did a bit of research behind it. I can go into much more detail, but I don't want to be talking for hours and hours. And this World Health Organization's version of the Mediterranean diet, I want to just point this out. Some of the research I showed, I got it actually from the World Health Organization's website. So they quoted the study, the pre-med study, and they said, well, this is the way to go. This, it's the best way of eating is Mediterranean style at the moment. And then they give this really bad representation of what Mediterranean style is, because basically what they're showing here is you go high carb, low fat, and low protein. So it's basically a high carb, low fat diet that they show. This is not part of the pre-med. There's nowhere in the whole actual study that I read that they mention eat a lot of bread and a lot of pasta, right? They don't do that. They don't eat that much fruit either. They got more of the vegetables, right? So this is not really a good representation, and it's unfortunate. Not sure why they got this so wrong, because I'm sure they read the same study, but they might have it just in the back of the mind what a lot of people have, that there's lots of pasta and dough and bread and all of that involved, but that's actually not true. Then I thought, let's see if New Zealand's got it right. So the pre-med study showed that you can cut cardiovascular diseases by a third, the risk of cardiovascular disease by a third. So I'm sure the Heart Foundation would agree, but apparently not, because what they show and their kind of from their website is you want to go use some oil, kind of low in oils and nuts, which basically you want to go high in. You say reduced fat milk, yogurt, and cheese, which you want to go high in. Bit of fish meat, we can do, but you want to have lean meat. So what? I'm not sure what they're thinking, because what they actually basically saying, and it's still based on that old thinking. That's why that guy is such a villain, the Ancel Keys, because he started this whole thing. But you need to go low fat, and that's because they still preach that to this day. Well, the research basically says the other way. Not sure why. Could be conspiracy theory. I have no idea. Don't want to go into too much detail here about that. But just so you know that there's different views out there of what's healthy and what's not. But research says something different than some of those big corporations say, including government. Because the Nutrition Australia basically says the same. You go high carb and you go low fat, which very sadly is not the way to go. But leave that to them. That's the first part. So the first part was all about what to eat, and now we can all agree upon that Mediterranean style of eating is really the way to go. Now the next part of my talk is going to be about fasting, right? And a lot of people have a negative they think negatively about fasting, but fasting is actually something people have done for thousands of years in different religions, and there's different myths in a current thinking that really hinders this development of fasting being a little bit more mainstream and popular, but it's getting out there. Some of you might have already heard about it, but there's a few things going on. First, people still think we need to eat small meals during the day, otherwise you'll, like, quote unquote, starve yourself, right? We're not starving ourselves. We can't starve ourselves. That's not going to happen if you don't eat a few small meals a day. That's complete crap. The only way you starve yourself if you don't eat just for like a week or so, when you have literally just only water. That's starvation. This is not, right? Also, another research is saying that, you know, it doesn't matter if you skip breakfast. We used to think breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and they still promote that basically because of the companies behind it. But it's actually also not true. What you want to do is you want to find something that works for you, right? Because there's research showing here, there's 2 randomized controlled trials that study the outcome of eating versus skipping breakfast. They show no effect on weight loss in the total sample. Right? So that basically means with a very good controlled research, they didn't see any difference. So it didn't matter if you ate breakfast or didn't eat breakfast for the certain groups. Right? So skipping breakfast doesn't make you gain weight. Now, fasting, again, there's lots of research out there, but let me get first into the types of fasting, then a little bit more of the benefits in a bit more detail, and then we're going to go how you can do this and how to implement this into your life. Now, the first way of fasting, and that's the most popular one, is time restricted feeding, because that you don't have to limit your calorie intake, and what you just do is you just eat at a certain time of between a certain few hours a day, right? So usually between 8 and 12 hours a day. That's your feeding window, right? And that's when you can eat. You don't have to count your calories, and that just restricts the timing of eating. Then it's a little bit more complicated. Then we're going to go for the intermittent calorie restriction. Now we're not restricting time, we're restricting the amount of calories, right? And what you do is you reduce the daily calorie intake to 800 to 1,000 calories. And you do that for 2 days a week, and that's called the 5-2 diet, made popular by Michael Mosley, one of my idols. And then we also have another type of fasting. That's when you start fasting for a longer period of time, where you just cut the calorie intake for 800 to 1,000 for not just 2 days a week, right? You do that for a longer period. Now, the fasting, I was going to write up a whole kind of story, or like a whole bullet point list, and then I came across this research article which basically give a good summary of what fasting what's fasting, what the research is showing at the moment. It's taking up all these different studies out there, put them all together and put in this one table here. So I'm going to guide you through it very quickly. Again, I don't have the time to go into too much detail here, but you just got to believe me, this is what it is, and this is what the current research is showing. First, you burn fat with fasting, and you increase your lean mass. So what we used to think here is that you eat, that if you don't eat, that you lose muscle mass, but that's actually not true. It's actually opposite to it. It somehow triggers for you to build more muscle mass. It helps improve your glucose homeostasis. It helps with your gut. It makes your gut more diverse, more dynamic, which is super important. Helps to with your cardiovascular diseases, to protect against it, protects against tissue inflammation. So if you got achy joints and knees, right, there's inflammation. Protects against liver diseases. Your risk of breast cancer actually goes down, and the prognosis actually goes up, which is super interesting. And that's just early stages here, right? I'm not going to say that if you fast, this disclaimer, if you fast you don't get breast cancer, right? You still got to do your checkups and everything, but research really showing that the risk is definitely decreasing. Cholesterol goes down. And this is awesome here. I can vouch for that. Every time I fast, the sleep quality goes up. You get the best sleep that week, and also your quantity. You feel maybe more sleepy, but basically you allow your body to have that sleep, and it's a really deep, good quality sleep. And also it helps with your muscle endurance. Right. So it's a quick overview. There's one more thing that wasn't in the table that's super important for the benefit of fasting. Is something called the multi-system regeneration, and that basically means that you have damaged white blood cells inside of you, and when you fast, you seem to lower them, right? You lower those damaged white blood cells, but when you start eating again, you turn on your stem cells and you start rebuilding and regenerating new healthy cells. So in plain terms, you get rid of the junk during starvation, so all the damaged cells, and when you eat, you're going to rebuild it up, right? So it's super important that when you eat again, that you eat with the right stuff. It's going to be the Mediterranean style. Then, let me go a little bit more detail now. There's 3 different ways of fasting. You hear the benefits, right? It's all sound research behind it. Now, how do you do it? So there's 3 different ways. They'll give you the benefits. First is the time restricted feeding, and that's the easiest one to do, because the only thing you need to do is to skip a meal, basically, right? So most common ones where people start skipping breakfast, but it can also be lunch or dinner. So if you eat dinner on a Sunday and then you eat lunch on a Monday, for example, so you skip your breakfast, Monday morning breakfast, so you skip that, so you eat at 6 p.m. Sunday, and then next day, midday, Monday, there's an 18-hour window, so you allow your body to fast for 18 hours, so you have a feeding window of 6 hours, and within the 6 hours, again, you don't have to count calories. Of course, you're trying to eat as healthy as you can, and that's the first way of fasting. Then we got the intermittent calorie restriction. That's the one I'm basically doing myself. That's called 5-2, and what you do is for 5 days you don't calorie count. You don't have to worry about how many calories you eat, and then you got 2 days where you do worry about it and be very strict that you only eat 800 calories on those days, right? And they had this research, because a lot of people say, well, why don't you just eat less, right? Just eat less, eat a bit less calories every day, and it's the same. But it's actually not, because they had this research where they had one group of people did the 5-2 diet, right? 2 days 800, 5 days no calories. The other one just say, well, eat less, just eat less diet. So they cut 25% of the calories every single day, right? Not just 2 days a week, every single day, so 7 days a week, 25% less calories every day. And then they followed up on those people 1 year later, and they showed no difference in weight loss, right? Which is fine, but the belly fat loss was higher in the 5-2 group. So they both had the same weight loss, but the belly fat, the most important one to lose, was only really higher in the 5-2 one. So something happening there. And also the other one, the waist circumference, the blood pressure, all of that was all the same for both groups, right? Then it gets even better. They had another study. So we had 115 women, and they were allocated to either 1,500 calories of the Mediterranean diet, which is back to the eat less diet, is about 25% calories less every day, but they had to eat Mediterranean style, which we've just went through is the way to go, right? And then they had the other group. They did the 5-2 one, but also the Mediterranean style. So that means for the 5-2 Mediterranean diet, they ate Mediterranean, and they had 2 fasting days where they still ate Mediterranean as well, right? But on these 5 days where they're not fasting, they didn't have to worry too much about how many calories they ate. 4 months later, they were twice as likely to be on a 5-2 diet, right? You're twice as likely to stick to that diet. It's more manageable, it's easier for people to maintain. It's also twice as much fat loss in that group compared to the just eat less diet. They also had better insulin resistance and less inflammatory markers. If you got a lot of those markers, you have higher risk of cancers and all sorts. So it's really amazing research, and that's the Mediterranean diet by itself is already great, but combine that with fasting, it makes supercharges the whole kind of diet. That's why it's called this webinar, the Weight Loss 2.0. Now, that's your second one. You got one more left. Is the periodic fasting. There's not many big studies out there yet, right? This is the biggest one I could find, and it's 71 people. And what they did is they were consuming a fasting mimicking diet for 5 days each month for 3 months, right? So for 5 days in a row, they were calorie restricting themselves, and they only did it once a month. So they, like, say, You got November 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bam, you fast. After those, you don't fast, but you, of course, you try to eat as healthy as you can. Right? What happens was that compared to people that didn't do that, is you lose weight just by those 5 days, but you lose weight on body fat, but not on the muscle mass. So again, we go back to that muscle mass. You don't really lose muscle mass that fast. Trust me, it's not starvation. But they also lower the blood pressure. They decrease the hormone called IGF-1, which is important in aging and diseases. So you want to have less of that. The more you have that IGF-1, the faster you age, and the more likely you get some the different cancers and sorts. Of course, your BMI drops, if your body weight drops, your glucose, triglycerides, cholesterol, marker for inflammation, the C-reactive protein was down as well, which are all really good signs that just 5 days a month for 3 months can do that, right? And that's the periodic fasting. Another study looked into that very similarly, but only did that with mice. Instead of 5 days, they did 4 days. And what they show is that compared to the mice that didn't do this calorie restriction for 4 days, they had longer lifespans, they decreased in fat, less cancer incidence as well, which is really amazing. And also it rejuvenated the immune system. Reasons behind that, still not sure, but like I said before, it cleans up all the bad cells, but also helps with your gut. So apparently with the fasting for this certain period of time, it gives your body really good cleans in a way, and helps you regenerate new healthy cells, including the immune system. And the gut, I said 85% of your immune system lives in the gut, so it's important that this gut bacteria are being well fed. And this is a mice, but then later on they did the same study, and they also showed the same results in humans. Right, so that's not all, right? So that's just 4 and 5 days a week. This other guy, like I know him, and his name is Professor Roy Taylor. Now, Professor Roy Taylor is a professor in the UK, and he created something what later has been called the rapid weight loss diet. And the rapid weight loss diet, basically what you do is you eat 800 calories a day, every single day, for 8 weeks. Right? Again, 800 calories a day, every single day, 8 weeks. Right? So we showed you the results for 4 days, 5 days, what difference that makes. He did it one step further, and he showed it's perfectly safe. That's what he did in his lab. He took people with type 2 diabetes, and he put them on that diet. So, well, you got to do this 800 calories a day, 8 weeks, and he monitored them all. And the weight loss was 14 kilos in 8 weeks. Talking about rapid weight loss, right? 14 kilos in 8 weeks. But also 87, more importantly, right, is the 87% of reversal of type 2 diabetes. So we used to think you can't reverse type 2. He showed with weight loss rapidly, you can, right? Great research. And there's more and more research coming out from him, right? He's still doing it. He's got funding from the government. Don't think he's one of those scam artists. He's a proper professor with government funding, right? So this is, cutting edge science here. And in 5-10 years from now, we'll think, oh, why did we think before that, that's so bad to eat this 800 calories a day, right? You can't live on that. Well, he's showing the difference, and he's showing he can reverse type 2 diabetes. That's powerful, right? Now, this is the rapid weight loss, right? And I promised you in the beginning to explain why that's more important, because every single study basically says if you have a great initial weight loss, you actually have lower body weight at the end of a long-term follow-up. So if you do any sort of study, if you lose weight quickly, you tend to keep it off, right? And they actually did a study on that. I think they did in Australia. 200 overweight women. Half of them were said, well, 100 of them say, well, you got 12.5% of your body weight to lose in just 12 weeks, so go. And the other one was told, well, you got 36 weeks, take your time, you lose about 500 grams a week over 36 weeks. Now, the result was that the slow group had a 50% dropout, so 50 out of the 100 already dropped out because, they probably didn't feel as motivated. And also they gained the most weight 2 years later on, right? So it's important for the motivation part of it that you lose weight quickly. We are hardwired for immediate results, and that's really the mechanism behind it. And that's why it's super important later on that I'm going to show you the psychology behind this, because this is going to be really important, the motivation, why motivation is important, how to sustain that motivation. And one of the ways is to lose weight really quickly. All right. Now that 800 8-week diet, I put someone to the test. I put my wife Lavinia to the test, and that's the photo you saw in the beginning, where she lost 14 kilos. And I'm going to show you the results after 3 weeks, because at 3 weeks, because we're talking about the rapid weight loss. So we're going to show you a 3-week result, and this is after 3 weeks of 800 calories every day for 3 weeks, right? 21 days. And so you can still smile, so it's not that bad. And you can see she lost 7.4 kilos right here. 7.4 kilos, that's rapid weight loss. That's quick, right? And like I showed before, she kept it off as well. So when you start this type of diet, you want to go all in, you want to lose weight quickly. And that's really important, right? 9 centimeters off the waist. Don't you want to have 9 centimeters off your waist in 3 weeks? Right? That's amazing. So this is kind of a summary about the food. Again, I can start talking about more. But just know that Mediterranean style, high fat, low carb diet is the way to go. You want to include more healthy fats, extra virgin olive oil, nuts, vegetables, and you want to get rid of the white stuff, sugar, and also minimize that fruit you eat. And then you want to mix that up with fasting, and you can pick your style. Right? You pick the style that works for you. 16-8, that's the time restricting. That's way fasting. Then we have the 5-2, right? 5 days of normal calorie, followed by 2 days of less calories. Or you can go for the 800 for 8 weeks, or for 5 days straight, you go very low in calories. Pick your style and combine that with that. All right, so that's the first part of it, right? It's all the nutrition part. Now it's going to be more interesting in a way that we're going to really talk about psychology. Because like I said in the beginning, you got the knowledge now. It's just about applying it to your life. And it's easier said than done, right? It's really easy to say, oh yeah, I know the do now. And then you say, oh, I'm going to do it, but you actually never do it, right? And I want you to see results. I want you to take something home from this webinar, so that you actually start applying this to your life. So you have to pay really close attention now. And I'm also going to ask you a few things during this webinar. And I want you just to start thinking in the background. And after the webinar's finished, maybe start taking some notes and start thinking, writing out some stuff. Here, psychology part. Right, so the first thing, the 7 steps. Right, I created 7 steps, and you follow those 7 steps. Step 1 is you need to know you got one obstacle. You need to know your number one obstacle, and we all have it, right? Yeah, I have it, you have it, kids have it, the Pope has it, the Prime Minister has it, right? And the number one obstacle that we have is we have this voice in between our ears that tells us why we can't do it. Right? Everyone has it. We're telling stories to ourselves why you can't do it. I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because of that. Right? And it's important to acknowledge that voice, right? Because again, we all have it. And writing this up, this quote came to my mind. I've known this quote for ages, but it makes so much sense now. Is that what Henry Ford said? He said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. That's super powerful, because if you think of it, if you think you can do it, you can. If you think you can't do it, you can't. Right? So it's super important to realize we got that voice. Now, the only thing that you can do here is just acknowledge it. You can't get rid of it. It's built in. It's built into our nature. Right? I still have it as well. But you just need to silence that voice. It's talking. Silence it. Right? You just need to know it's there and just move on. That's step 1. Your first step. Step 2. We need to change our mindset. We need to go from a fixed mindset into a growth mindset. Now, a fixed mindset is when you believe that your basic abilities, like your intelligence, your talents, but also your weight, are just fixed traits, right? So you have a certain amount of that, and that's that. Like, for example, your maths, you can be just a certain smartness, and that's it, right? Because it's not running in your family, for example, but just what you tell. But we don't want to think that's wrong, because we want to have a growth mindset. And the growth mindset means that you understand that your talents, abilities can be developed through effort, teaching, and persistence, right? Practice makes perfect. And you also don't necessarily think that everyone is the same, or, you can be Einstein overnight. Of course not. But you need to believe that everyone can get smarter, fitter, stronger, can lose weight if they work at it, right? So, for example, if you say it's hard for me to lose weight, I'm not an athletic person, my whole family is overweight, my aunties, my mom and dad, my sisters, then that belief acts as an excuse to avoid working out and eating healthy, right? So that fixed mindset prevents you from failing in the short run, but in the long run, it hinders you to your ability to learn, to grow and develop some new skills, right? Meanwhile, if you have someone with a growth mindset, we say, well, I know my parents are overweight, but I'm willing to try a new workout or meal plan, and they might even fail at first, which is fine, because if you got a growth mindset, you see those failures and setbacks, an indication that you should continue to develop your skills, rather than, oh yeah, that's something you're not good at. For example, you go to a workout and you realize that you completely suck at working out. Well, it doesn't mean that that's it. I'm not good at it, I'm not going to do it anymore. That's a fixed mindset. You're going to say, oh well, let's try again, because I know with over time I can go better. Same as starting a diet. I'm going to do it once and then I've done this diet 5 years ago and it didn't work out. Done. No, you just have to keep going. You need to keep trying, because I know over time you'll get better. And you just need to see everything as data. The more data you get from failures, setbacks, the better, the stronger you can come back, and the more you learn, right? So everything you do is data, right? You messed up your diet, why? Right? You need to know why. What's the data? Okay, what can you do next time to improve on that? That's your second step. So go for the growth mindset. Then we need to know the difference between impossible and very hard. Now, this is a one that we might just already think, oh yeah, we know what's impossible and what's very hard, the difference. But let me tell you a story of Göran Kropp. This guy, right? One day he tells his wife, he said, well, I won't see you for a while, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to climb the Mount Everest. So he gets on his bike and he travels 13,000 kilometers to go climb Mount Everest. He's from Sweden, by the way. To climb Mount Everest with not much support, and he goes to the top of Mount Everest, goes back down again, gets on his bike, goes home again. No joke. All right. Now, if I would tell you, well, I'm actually going to show you here. I actually had to look it up myself. He's from Sweden, so I'm not sure where, but let's say he's from right here, and he just goes all the way. I'm not sure if he even went a straight line. He might even go down, or however else he got there. But it's huge, right? On a bike. He's went on his bike. 13,000, climbed Mount Everest, back again. That's crazy. Now, if I would tell you, and if I tell you, oh, let's go 13,000 kilometers on a bike and climb Mount Everest with minimal support and go down again back to home, 13,000 kilometers with a bike, you say, oh, no, that's impossible. Well, it's not, because he just proved it's possible, but it's just very, very hard. So same with the meal plans, diets, right? Eating 800 calories for 8 weeks, I've showed you, my wife did it, and Professor Taylor, he's got lots of case studies. It's possible. It's possible to lose 14 kilos in that amount of time, or more even, or less. But it's possible. It's just going to be very, very hard. And I want you to keep that always in mind when you see things. It's when someone's done it before, it's possible, but it's not impossible, right? And if he can do it, you can do it. It's just going to be super, super hard. Then, fourth step, start with your why, right? Now, you have the wrong why, or you got the right why. Now, why do you want to lose weight? So why is this wildly important to you, right? And that's exactly what this researchers asked to students. As you ask, well, why you want to lose weight? And people say, well, it's weight loss, you want to look good, you want to have better, want to have better health, and when you're older, right? Which all sounds quite fine, right? Quite good reasons of wanting to lose weight. that 75% of students said the exact same thing. Well, but then there's another 25%. They actually said, well, we do want to increase the quality of the daily life. So they want to have something. They exercise or they eat healthy because they feel better in the moment. They feel better that day, more energized, more sharp. I get more work done on that day. And that's 25% said that it just makes me feel better today. Now that was what she did then, is she measured how much they exercised over the next year. So a year later, those people came back, and what she showed was that the group that said, well, you just want a weight loss to look good and just better health in the future, they actually exercised less, about a third less than the other group that was just focusing how they felt on the day. And here are her words in explaining why this result was how it was. Because human beings, it turns out, are hardwired to choose immediate gratification over long-term benefits. That's so true, right? We are hardwired to go for immediate gratifications, right? If your motivation is something abstract, something fuzzy, like a future goal, like losing weight, being healthy, right? That's the wrong why. That's too abstract. That's too long term. But you need to reframe your why, so it's focusing on immediate benefits. So you need to tell yourself you exercise so you can feel better, you eat healthy so you can feel better today. Why not just to lose weight or lose 20 kilos in the next year or so? Why you need to start focusing on the process, and you need to shift your mindset from the chore we have of dieting. It shouldn't be a chore. Why you need to see it as a gift, because what you're doing, you're actually making you feel better on that day. Right? And that's just a different mindset. You just need to adopt that new mindset. So you need to have the why. You need to change it to something that's immediate gratification. Today or tomorrow, or something very, very quick, very short term. I mean, not quick, short term, instead of thinking of the long term. Right? So see it as a chore. Don't see it as a chore. It's a gift that we give ourselves. Right? So that's your fourth step. Step 5. This is going to be a big one. Right? It's going to be the biggest one of all of the 7 steps. Change your self-image. Right? And what you need to do is you need to first know that self-image is the current state of you. It's not the final state. Right? Like I mentioned before, we got the growth mindset. We're not fixed. Right? We can grow. We can change. Right? But nothing's going to change unless you change. And George Kelly is a psychologist, and he created something called the fixed role therapy very successfully. And basically what he says is your personality is not fixed, like we know now, right? And he says malleable. So best way you can shape your personality is to act as if you are the person you aspire to be. Right? So what do you aspire to be? Let's look at it in a weight loss term. What do you want to be? You want to be an athlete, right? You want to eat healthy. You want to work out on time. You want to put in the work. That's what you want to be, right? Right? Be that version now. You want to do that right now. So what you want to do, you want to create a new identity. Because we want to start with the identity, and that identity can drive our behaviors, and our behaviors drive our feelings. But what we do most of the time, we do everything the other way around. So the most of the time what we have is we rely on our feelings, right? Oh, I don't feel like working out today. So the feelings will drive your behaviors, which you then won't work out, which then creates your identity of, you're just a lazy bum. Right? You want to turn this around, because identity drives behaviors and behaviors drive feelings. We don't want to go the other way around, which a lot of people do. Right? So you don't have to rely on feeling like it, because if you change the identity of a person that is fasting, eating 800 calories a day, that might be days that you don't feel like it. But once your identity is changed, you just do it, whether you feel like it or not. Right? And there's a story about this Olympic swimming coach in America. He actually applied this to his swimmers. So on the day of the Olympics, he told the swimmers, well, you guys won, right? Just pretend we all won. Let's have a brawl. You get all fake medals and stuff, right? And they actually haven't won the event yet, but they just pretended they were winning, right? They actually won the event. And it actually worked, right? He took out all the gold medals. and you just need to fake it until we become it. And that's how we do it, right? So you need to role play with your new identity for 2 weeks. So you got 14 days, and I want you to write up your new identity. What you trying to be, right? You want to be someone that's fasting. What does a faster do, right? Someone fast is really rich, maybe do 800 calories a day for 8 weeks, or maybe do the 5-2, right? You're one of the 5-2 people, and you work out 4 or 5 times a week. You eat healthy, you get rid of the junk, right? That's your new identity, right? Whatever your identity want to be. Then what you do, you're gonna say bye to your current old personality, and you say, well, cheerios, and you go on a holiday for 2 weeks, and that gives you an opportunity to act like a different person. And it might sound really weird and stupid, but if you play your new role 24 hours a day, even when you're alone, it will change. Because what happens then, you got a new identity that will drive those behaviors and then drive your feelings, right? So again, not the other way around. Super important, right? So put your current personality on holiday, and off you go. 2 weeks, write down what your new identity is and act as if, right? And 24 hours a day, even when you're watching Netflix, right? People that are healthy, they don't eat a whole pint of ice cream, so you just got to be careful there. Step 6, we're almost done there. Step 6, you have to have the right goal, right? It's going to be important to have the right goal. And you also need to know what to expect, right? So goals need to inspire you. First of all, you need something that's inspiring. It also needs to be challenging enough. You don't want to have goals that are not challenging enough, because that won't work either. But you don't want to have a goal that's unrealistic. So inspiring, challenging, and realistic. Those are your goals. Now you can have goals, right? Even with the right why, right? You have the right why. Eating healthy because it makes you feel better, but you also still need to have that goal long term, right? You need to see what you want to do, right? If you have 100 kgs, you want to go down to 80. Why you want to go down to 80? Because you've never been to 80 before. You've always been, in your adult life over 80. You want to finally go below the 80 mark. All right, that's a great goal. It's inspiring, challenging, and it's realistic. Right? Now you got that big goal. What you need to do, right? You need to go small. You need to go super small, and you just need to go take action. So think big, but you need to act small, because by acting small, we have those little wins, right? We have something that satisfies us now. So if your goal is 20 kgs, right, your next goal is going to be losing 100 grams the next day, right? And then focus on that goal. Clear that goal, right? Immediate gratification. Right, so that's what's important. Immediate gratification. Oh yes, you feel good. You lose another 100. And then what you're going to do, if you keep doing those small goals, you're going to focus on the process. It's like shooting a missile in the air and then just hoping it lands on its target. Right? Even though you get the right coordinates, when the rocket goes in the air, there's a lot of wind and all sorts of different things that can change this trajectory. So if you just focus on shooting in the air and then just look at where your missile is going to land, right, your target, that's not going to work. You need to be there with that rocket. You need to keep steering that rocket, and eventually you will hit it, right? But if you're not, it will hit maybe somewhere else. Right, so focus on the process, little wins, little steps, day by day. That's the way to go. And then, right, so you get the right goals. You need to know what to expect as well, because you need to be all in. You can't start something new, right, without being all in. You need to be all in, 100%, right? And that's just a mindset thing. You need to be all in. Now, when you're all in, there's some price you got to pay, right? And I call that the diet tax. The diet tax is, the diet tax is when you do something, there's some consequences, there's some price you need to pay. Now, if you go on a diet, the price you need to pay is you might want to meet up with your friends for, afternoon wines and cupcakes and all of that, right? There are prices you have to pay, but they pay off. And you can start changing things as well, right? The price you have to pay is that you can't meet up with your friends anymore, right? Because they all drink wine. Why don't you just take them out for tea and go for a nice hike instead of sitting around drinking wine, right? It doesn't have to be that way, right? So you need to find different solutions. That's the price you have to pay, right? Soreness when you work out, price you have to pay. The first few days is soreness, but you know it's going to be there. And if you're not willing to pay the price, don't do it, right? It may eliminate choice as well. it's a bright line. You're in or out. If you're not in, you're not in. If you're out, right, you're out. But just do it. Remove all the options to quit as well. And to remove the options to quit, you need to use something called the whoop. Now the whoop is to identify any struggles along the way. So you are going to find some struggles along the way. That's part of the whole process, right? And we're going to focus on the process, and we're going to know there's going to be some struggles. Now we're going to whoop it. Whoop is a great kind of way of getting to plan ahead, to know the struggles are coming and find a plan to do. So when the time comes, those obstacles will be there. Then you know what to do to avert the obstacle, or do something to stop that from hindering your weight loss. Right? So the whoop stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Now the wish is you need to start with the vision of your ideal. So that's your wish. Your outcome, you need to know the outcomes you'll experience, so right? So why you're fired up. And then the obstacle, right? Rub that vision you have of yourself against reality, right? See the obstacles you might face. You need to just sit down and think about it. And then you need to plan, create a plan to deal with it. Right? So start with the vision, know the outcomes, right? There's going to be obstacles. So how are you going to plan? So let's go through an example to make a little bit more sense. But it's a great exercise for you to do. So you know your obstacles, you know how to cope with them. So let's say I want to exercise more regularly. That's your wish, right? It fires you up because you have more energy and feel better about myself today, right? So that's again back to immediate gratifications. Well, it's all good. So wish and outcome. And then the obstacles. Well, sometimes you don't feel motivated, excited to exercise in the morning. Right? You don't wake up like, oh, I don't feel like it this morning. I might just snooze it. So your plan then is the moment you feel, don't feel motivated in the morning, you just get up and you just put your shoes on straight away and go for a run, even if you don't feel like it. Right? And if you got that different identity, it makes it easy as well. Because if you got identity of someone that's a fitness person, right, they get up even if they feel like it or not. So if you change your identity, you go back to that again, right? You just put on your sneakers and you go for a run, or you go to the transformation center, or whatever you're going to do, but you're just going to get up. So if the obstacle happens, then I'll do that. So if I don't feel like waking up, then I'll just put on my shoes. Now you need to start working around your obstacles, because again, they are there, there are going to be lots of them, but if you can prepare for most of them, it'll give you so much less headache along the way. So that's the whoop. Last step. Well, last step is about procrastination. Now, procrastination is a killer, right? It really kills dreams. It kills lives in a way, because a lot of people don't start, right? And sometimes because they don't have the right motivation. And Piers Steel, psychologist, he created this formula of motivation. And what he says is motivation is expectancy times value over impulsivity and delay. So you get motivation, and it's expectancy times value divided by impulsivity times delay. No, expectancy, so the E. So it's a fraction. So you want to have the top numbers high, you want to have the bottom numbers low to get the highest motivation score, right? So expectancies. What do you expect to achieve in what time frame? I'll go back to the time frame. What do you expect to achieve? Expect to lose 1 kilo by 1 week, right? And then you also need to know you can do it. Go back to step 1. We get that little voice, right? We want to know you can do it. That gives it a higher number, gives you more motivation, right? Then your value. Do you really want it? Is this really important to you? Is it? Right? So you need to know it's important. If it's not important, they don't have a high number at the top in the fraction, right? You want to have a high number here, because that will diminish your motivation to do things. Then, right? So expectancy and value. Then you need to know, you're always distracted by the latest fad diet. If you start a diet, you're always distracted by the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. You try this Mediterranean, then after a week you hear something about keto, do that, and then the week after you hear about the high carb diet, do that, and then you go for the low fat again and do that, and you keep changing with every season with a different diet, right? You don't want to do that, because that will diminish your motivation. Right? Stick to it. Like I said before, you got to stick to what you do. Right? You have to go all in. So how can you reduce your distractions? And then the last one is delay, right? Like I mentioned before as well, don't make it go far down the road. Make small goals ahead, immediate gratification when you achieve it, because that's going to be really important, right? Short goals, small goals, instead of the far along 20 kgs in 2 years along the road. You want to go for the smaller goals, and that will give you a lower number right here, which will create more motivation, right? So how not to procrastinate? It's easy. Just start. Right? Don't focus on getting it finished. Just start. Like if you shoot a rocket, you just gotta focus on getting the rocket to lift off the ground, and then you're just gonna move that rocket into the right direction. But don't just focus on getting things finished. Right? 20 kgs, that's a long way to go. I still use an example, but there's a long way to go. So if that's too long for you, right, don't wait. Focus on getting that finished. Focus on the process, more important. And just like Isaac Newton says, an object in motion tends still to stay in motion. So you gotta work with that. And the other thing is, sometimes we don't start because the anticipation of it makes us procrastinate, right? Sometimes we don't start a workout program because we think it's going to be so hard, or we start a diet because we think it's going to be so hard. And he actually did some research with students. We actually really literally hate fMRI. We hate maths, and he put those students that hate maths into an fMRI, and what they saw is, they put those kids in the fMRI, students, and they were lying down, and they said, well, lie down. So wait a minute, soon you're going to do some math work. Right? You're going to do some fractions and all of that, and some sums and some calculations. And while they were waiting for those calculations, they measured the brain, and they actually shown that the pain centers lit up when they were anticipating having to do the math. Right? Just the anticipation of it. Literally pain centers, right? The same centers lit up when you actually are in pain will lit up just when you anticipate, when you're waiting for it. But listen up, the pain centers turn off when you were actually doing the maths. That turned off, and it just eased them a lot, right? The brain was eased. So sometimes it's that anticipation. But trust me, when you start your fasting, start your Mediterranean style of eating, start your exercise, the anticipation is always the hardest. But once you start, right, once you just get started, right, not focusing on getting finished, right, and your motion, you tend to stay in motion. Right, so those are a summary of your 7 steps. Go through each step, think about it, and just change your mindset for a lot of them. So again, first is to know your number one obstacle, which is in between your head. Then we want to go for growth mindset. Know we can change with practice. Then you need to know the difference between impossible and very hard, right? Things are not always impossible. It's just sometimes very hard. You need to start with your right why. Why it's not something fuzzy, abstract in the long distance from now, but something clear right now, right? Change your self-image, right? Say bye to your old self and adapt that new self-image that you want to be for 2 weeks. Have the right goal, right? Make sure it's challenging, make it doable, make sure it's valuable for you, but also know what to expect, and expect some challenges along the way, and we use that whoop to help you cope with that. And then the last step is don't procrastinate, just start. Sometimes the anticipation of the pain you might get might freeze you and not actually allow you to take action. Alright, so if you find this helpful, you really like my new 5-week challenge. So you registered to this webinar, and you're here right now, and you know if you would apply all this to your life, you would see amazing results. Alright? So, and that's why you are going to want to join the 5-week challenge. So if you want to have that rapid weight loss, reduce your risk of some diseases, you won't get rid of the inflammatory markers, you have better insulin resistance, diet you can stick to long term, and also based on the latest emerging science, then this challenge is just for you. Here's what you're going to get with the 5-week challenge. It's based on Michael Mosley's, my idol's 8-week blood sugar diet, which then his 8-week blood sugar diet is based on the rapid weight loss diet by Professor Roy Taylor. You get 5 weeks of 800 calorie meal plans. What to eat, how much to eat. You get the shopping list for 1 people, 2 people. We give you the recipes. We give you all of it, right? So basically, you get all the recipes. It's just plug and play. Then we also give you unlimited support for me and my wife. She did the challenge, so she's there to support you, give you tips, right, as well as me. I know the background. I do the 5-2 version as well. And we're just going to keep you moving forward. Right? Object in motion, tensor, stay in motion. We want to keep pushing you forward to keep you motivated along the way for 5 weeks. And also give you weekly handouts. We're not just going to give you all the 5 weeks of meal plans, that's it, and then say, yeah, we're here to help. No, we're going to give you weekly reminders, weekly handouts, videos, nutrition. We want to educate you even more here. There's 3 variations of the challenge, and you're going to pick one of those 3. The first one is 800 calories for 5 weeks, and that's really where you see the greatest weight loss results. So 800 calories every day, 5 weeks, 35 days of 800 calories a day. If you don't want to do that, or you can't do that, then you can also move. You can, right? You can do it, but 5-2, if that's more fits your lifestyle, you can go for greater weight loss results as well compared to the third one where you don't count calories. But what you do then is you're trying to restrict the time of feeding, and you're just going to go for the Mediterranean style. So you can pick one of the 3 variations. The investment, if you go to a nutritionist, it costs you about $120, and then you have the 5 weeks of meal plans, about $394. Then you get support from me and Lavinia. We can easily charge you $75 an hour just to talk to us. So we do that times 5 weeks. That's $375. All the handouts, seminars are going to give you the information. It's all going to be about $422. So altogether, it's going to be $1,311. But of course, I'm not going to charge you that today. So instead of, if you sign up today, you can have all of this for 3 installments of $197. That's it, right? Or you can save $197 and make just one payment of $394. But I really like you, and you've been listening to me for this past hour. This is going to make it even better for you. If you sign up before the 2nd of November, it's very soon, you gain all of this for just one payment of $147. It will save you $247. So it's only till the 2nd of November. I might extend it, right? Maybe to the 3rd, but that's it. After that, it's going to go up again to the old price. It's only $147 right now. We also give you money back guarantee. Put it to work, of course. You can't just not do it and then say, well, it doesn't work. Of course, it doesn't work if you don't do it, right? You have to plant the seeds. You can't expect a harvest, and you're going to show me you did it. And if you got no results, money back. Just give it straight away, because we don't want to have any troubles, but we know that it works. That's why we offer the money back, because we know it works. And here's what you're going to get: 5 weeks of meal plans, shopping lists, recipes, unlimited support, the weekly handout, success guide as well for afterwards, and a private Facebook group page where you're going to go live and go answer your questions, everything you got, keep you motivated, share even more recipes, a little bits and pieces, more information. All of that is done Facebook. So hurry up, it ends this Friday, maybe extended to Saturday if you're lucky, you don't know yet. So the longer we wait between feeling inspired, like you right now, and do something actually doing it, the more confidence of self-respect fades away. So what are you waiting for? Sign up by clicking the link below, or it could be on the side, it could be anywhere. There's a link somewhere, click it. Right, if you have any questions, send me an email, info@transformationcenter.co.nz. I hope to see you soon, hope to help you along with the 5 weeks. Let me know if you have any questions.